Hi, I'm Kurt Fernley, former Paralympian, broadcasting from Gadigal country.
And I'm Georgie Tunney, absolute slalom devotee, and I am broadcasting from Wurundjeri country.
And on today's show, I asked the President of the International Paralympic Committee where he wants to display my historic superpowered lucky undies.
Kurt, this is not a mystery. We store them in the bin.
That would be a crime, Georgie Tunney.
I am willing to do time for that crime. I'm willing to go to jail for me dispatching of the... I think I might get knighted. I don't think it would be a crime.
I think you would only get knighted because some of the stench of success would get on you from my lucky undies.
Ew.
Georgie Tunney, what's your You Little Ripper moment?
Well, I've really enjoyed today because I love the slalom, as you know, Kurt. And I've been really enjoying every single para-alpine event of these games, to be honest. But with the slalom, it takes this extra level of skill. And I just, again, beyond comprehension how these athletes do it. But I want to give a shout out to Finland, and namely their athlete Santeri Kiveri, who won gold, the first gold in the giant slalom standing, I believe, for Finland in that event. And why it was so special to me, Kurt, is he won by 0.04 seconds over the athlete from America. I mean, can you even imagine like having an entire event come down to 0.04 seconds?
Yes.
Has that happened to you?
Yes, I finished a marathon. I lost a marathon. I got second. You know what? I don't even think of it as a second. I'm like, I lost a marathon by 0.03. 42.195 kilometres came down to 0.03. I had the greatest seat in the house for the person who won the race. Look at that sport, how great, how amazing, but how brutal it is as well.
Be honest, Kurt. When you found out that you lost by 0.03, was there just a moment, just the tiniest, pettiest part of you that wanted to grab, I don't know, a pen or something and just drag it through the gold medalist tires? Like, were you just filthy?
I was filthy. I was wearing the same underwear I had worn for 16 straight years. Of course I was filthy.
They don't work.
Look, imagine how bad I would have went if I wasn't wearing the lucky undies. That was how my head went. I would have at least been 0.05 away. Look, that's racing, that's sport. I love it. It's amazing. My You Little Ripper moment for today, it was every single interview that the Australian Paralympians did.
You're getting greedy, Kurt. You're getting greedy.
No, I don't care. I'm taking it. All four of them. Sam Tate, when he finished, he spoke about how he had a rough meet, but he spoke about how that he was just single-mindedly, fiercely approaching Italy. Not just competing in Italy, but he has to get that gold. Pat Jensen, he got down, he had a D and F, but at the end, at the giant slalom, he said that he's going to dedicate this run and all of his runs to Jonty O'Callaghan, who we spoke to yesterday. Mitch had a miraculous effort to stay up. And at the end of the interview when he's in tears, he said that he did everything he could to ski the way that he was proud of. And he's fighting back tears throughout the entire interview. You nearly
lost it then, Kurt. You nearly lost it. You were like, I did everything that he's proud of. No, it was so beautiful, like such a beautiful moment. And for him, because, you know, we've been lucky enough to talk to him as well, friend of the pod. So we know how much this moment means to him.
And then we got the other extreme, Josh Henlon going into his first games and the way that he was just so open about embracing the Paralympic movement and how much it meant to him as well. So those 4 interviews were amazing, and each and every one of the interviews, let's forget about the sport, they are my You Little Ripper moments.
Okay, well, what about your best of the rest then? Because you've basically put the entire day as your You Little Ripper moment. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, you're getting greedy, Kurt. You're getting greedy. So, what's your best of the rest?
The best of the rest is actually the results. The results. In the men's giant slalom, Sam Tate got 22nd, Josh Handler got 11th, Mitch Gawley got 20th, and unfortunately a tough run for Pat Jensen with the DNF. What about yours? What's the best of the rest, Georgie?
I'm jumping on a bit of a bandwagon here, Kurt, but I know that it's one that you will happily jump upon with me, because my best of the rest is actually a little bit of a movement, learn a little bit more about at this Winter Paralympics, and that is the sledge hockey, which I know you love, but there's this momentum to really create an Australian team, and in my head, it seems quite nonsensical that we are not there, because it's the sport itself is something that just really, really suits that Aussie mongrel-ism, if that makes sense.
The way they slide across the ice, they're about 6 inches off it, lead with the shoulder and the head.
Oh, God, yeah.
It is one of the, again, it is like watching rugby and rugby while you're sitting on a dangerous blade sliding through ice. It's incredible. How about, I think we actually should do it. When there's a come and try day in Sydney, I think that we're getting the You Little Ripper band back together, and we're going to get our butt into an ice sledge, and we're going to mess some people up. Probably ourselves.
Yeah, the people we're messing up, Kurt, us, 100%. That's what it's going to be. I can just imagine, I've already got into a daydream. It's you, it's me on a team, and we're there, and then we've got all the bravado, all the confidence. We've watched, all the highlight reels from every single Paralympic gold medalist sledge hockey team that there's ever been, and we know what we're going to do. We take one step out onto the ice. I've never been on an ice rink before. I crash and burn, and you'll have to just slide me off to the side, and you can carry on, and I'll just watch. That's what's going to happen.
It's definitely going to be crashing and burning. But look, today also, it's a really special day for You Little Ripper. It's the first time across 2 games that we actually get to sit down with the president behind the movement, the person who is leading the movement through one of the most challenging eras of the Paralympic Games. It's one of the most challenging eras of sport, and you know what? It's the most challenging era that I've ever been around for. Andrew Parsons, welcome to You Little Ripper.
Pleasure being with you together in this podcast.
Mate, it's been a challenging last couple of years. From every angle, it looks like the most challenging couple of years in the Paralympic history. How do you describe it, living through it as president?
The last 2 years, particularly, been challenging with the coronavirus situation, pandemic, and of course, the situation now during these games in Beijing is something I would never expect to experience.
I just wanted to get a general vibe of what it's like now that the competition has started. What's it actually like there in Beijing?
Now that the competition has started, it has changed. It has shifted to a much more positive vibe here in the 3 different villages at the venues. I think now, of course, whenever you have Ukrainian athletes competing, you talk about the issue, the situation that the country's facing there. And normally when there is a podium, like I had a privilege the other day to present medals in a podium with 3 Ukrainians winning gold, silver, and bronze, and then you have the national anthem. So it's impossible to escape to that feeling in conversations here and there. But I think it's very positive now.
How do you reflect on 1 week ago, the 24 hours where the announcement was made, where the Russians and the Belarusian athletes would be competing underneath a white, like a neutral banner, to then being not allowed to compete? How do you reflect now on that 24-hour period?
We are a democratic organization. The first decision we announced, we went to the limit of our constitution. But our membership was really clear and say, look, this is not enough. This is not enough. We need to send, as a movement, a very strong message here. Many NPCs, they have said, look, our athletes don't want to compete with Russian and Belarusian athletes. So the reaction was really strong. So it became very clear that we needed to change the decision. So if someone asked me, would you do something different? I would say no, because we already did something different. I think we changed, but we changed because, again, we listened to our members. We spoke with all of them. We listened to the athletes, and then I know people say, look, what was different only 14 hours later, and I can tell you it was very, very different environment.
Tell me a highlight of the game so far, and what are you looking forward to watch over the next few days?
Well, it's difficult to escape, but I think the highlight I think was the first podium with 3 Ukrainian athletes at the podium. I think the emotion that we all felt here, it was amazing. It's difficult to describe. Their journey to get here is something that I hope people write books. I hope people produce documentaries about their journey from Ukraine to Beijing. But there are many. We are seeing here young athletes. This is what is really, to me, is stands out. How many and new athletes to the, let's say, to the system, if we may call it that way, but very young athletes competing here. So it's a similar trend as in the Summer Games. So I saw yesterday, I watched yesterday, for example, a very competitive para ice hockey match between the hosts, China and Czech Republic. Very fast Chinese team, a very strong and physical Czech Republic team. And when you describe a match like that, it's because you went away from the politics. It's about sport. It's about different styles.
Andrew, we like to get to know our guests and, have a good yarn to them here on You Little Ripper. And I would love to know from you, you mentioned some of the highlights that you've seen at this particular games, but if you could bring it down to one, I know it's going to be tough, but what's your all-time favorite Paralympic moment?
Oof, at the personal level, when Daniel Diaz, the multi-champion Paralympic swimmer, he won a gold medal that made him the most condecorated male swimmer of all time in the Paralympic history. And he brought me upon the podium to listen to the Brazilian national anthem with them. We broke all the possible protocols. I know I was not the IPC president at that time, so it's a very good excuse. But I think, without saying anything, it was like he was saying, thank you. Thank you for what you do, for what you did for the Paralympic movement in our country. And so it was a moment that I'll never forget. I cry a lot. I'm a very emotional guy. And people were surprised. They said, look, but you didn't cry. And we know you would cry in a situation like this. I said, man, I was beyond there. I was at the nirvana.
When you project ahead, what would you like your legacy to be?
That the IPC is really perceived as an organization for all, that we treat all of our members equally but proactively. So we try to find solutions for them. We serve them in a way that they can best serve their athletes here, because at the end of the day, we work with the athletes, and the athletes they are from the NPC, the International Federation, so that we can really be perceived as an organization that is effective and proactive in serving its membership in a way that is relevant for them. I also would like to have more athlete input, or more athlete opinions, or more athlete participation in the decision-making processes of these organizations. I think it's fundamental that we find mechanisms. The Athletes Council is great, but I think we need more. We need to create these systems, and we are already working on that. Also in the human rights, and this is something I started to do in my first term, was to make the IPC closer, to be closer to the wider disability human rights movement. I come from sport. My whole life was dedicated to sport, not as an athlete, of course, due to the lack of talent, but I think the sport can play a major role in the world. I'm a firm believer in that, and I do see that the Paralympic movement needs to be aligned with the international human rights movement, because, again, it's not only about the 4,400 athletes in the Summer Games, the around 550 athletes in the Winter Games. It's about 1.2 billion persons with disability around the world, and we need to make a significant. The Paralympic Games is the only global event that puts persons with disability center stage. As simple as that. You don't see it in art, you don't see it in culture, other sport events, politics, economy, whatever. Is the Paralympic Games. So, and I also want the games to be perceived as the most, not be only perceived, to be the most relevant sport event on this planet. And when I mean relevant is because I believe that the future of sport is in the, let's say, in the combination of entertainment and purpose. So I think in the purpose side, I think we are getting there. But also when it comes to entertainment, it needs to be fun. You know, people need to turn on TV for the Paralympics and say, "Oh, I'm gonna watch an incredible wheelchair rugby match. How cool will be this marathon?" You know, because Kurt Georgie will compete on that. So people know that they will watch incredible sport, first of all, but sport that means something at the same time.
We can hear the obvious passion within you, and we would like you now to bring that to our little segment called Fast Five, if you are willing to participate.
Of course, and not because Kurt is paying me, and it's value in kind. You know, we're talking about probably beers here, so but we will discuss that later.
That I can do. That I can definitely handle. Andrew, what do you wish that you had in the village but you can't get? You're president. I'm pretty sure you can get anything in the village, but you surprised me.
Space.
Andrew, we ask this a lot of our athletes, and I know that you said that you don't have too much particular athletic prowess, but what's your superstition?
I always step with the right foot first. Anywhere. If it's an elevator, if it's an airplane, if it's I'm very obsessed with superstitions sometimes. So when I watch a football match, for example, I'm a huge fan of Corinthians, my football club in Brazil. I need to, if I'm seated at home, if I'm in the stadium, I need to be with my right foot in front of the left foot, like, you know, and I keep reminding myself, oh my God, you know, I have the left foot ahead, so maybe they will score against us, things like that. I'm really superstitious, and especially on planes. Probably madness, right? Probably madness.
Well, you're better than me, because mine was lucky undies that I wore for 16 straight years of racing wheelchairs.
God.
So you.
Oh my.
Correct, Andrew. Correct.
You still have them, though?
I've still got them. They're national treasure. They're a national treasure.
Hope you're not wearing them tonight.
I'm going to donate them to the International Paralympic Committee so they can be framed in a hallway somewhere.
Museum.
As they are in Australia, we will donate them to the Australian Paralympic Committee, so they put them in their museum.
What's your first Paralympic memory?
My first Paralympic memory was Athens 2004 and the arrival at the village.
Now, I know in your job as president, you technically probably have to remain slightly neutral in who your favorite athletes are, but I want you to forget about that and tell me who your favorite Paralympic athlete is right now. Who would you fanboy out over?
Wow, man, I will have to name the guy again. It's Daniel Diaz, the Paralympic swimmer. He's just one of the, I don't know, the best human beings I know. Great athlete, but at a personal level, he is a fantastic human being. It makes me really proud to be, you know, a Brazilian when I have a guy like him defending the colors of our country.
If you were a Paralympian, what sport would you be in?
It will probably, and maybe you like that answer, Kurt. It will probably be a long distance event in athletics, not the marathon, but a 5,000, 10,000, because it's what I do today. I run. And I really like to run.
But it's thank you for joining us. It's been again a challenging time, but it's great to see the sport again. And thanks for joining us on You Little Ripper.
No, thank you for the opportunity. It's great to catch up. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, now the focus is on sport and the athletes, and they are doing what they do best.
Shameless, Kurt Burnley. You are absolutely shameless.
Oh, you know what? You've only got one opportunity. I take it. So I do whatever I've got to do to see how I can get myself and those lucky undies to where they need to be.
No. The bin.
Georgie, it's another great episode of You Little Ripper. Again, that this is the most accessible podcast that the Australian community has ever seen. The transcripts will be available, and it's also translated into Auslan. Just search You Little Ripper on YouTube, and these episodes will be there.
Of course, a biggest thank you once again to Toyota for making this podcast possible. We really couldn't do it without them. They support us. They're a huge support for our Paralympians, so we really, really appreciate their ongoing support. You Little Ripper!